The Joe Rogan Experience.
Robert E. Lee was, the union guy.
Ulysses Grant?
Grant had a drinking problem, but then was like, oh, and he probably had it from PTSD, and he's just telling that story with such kind of emotional depth. It was cool. It's nice to watch that instead of read it sometimes.
Yeah, I don't think any of us are ever going to be able to truly understand what it was like to live without television, without radio, without cell phones, and war. Like, what? And then war inside the same continent with other people that are supposed to be just like you, that speak the same language. Like,
yeah, that you run the risk of going, hey, Gary.
Yeah, right. Especially if you live in like fucking Virginia or somewhere.
Yeah,
it's like on the border.
You could know the person who's
Easily.
facing you.
Sure.
And be like, best of luck to you, Gary. I hope I do, and don't get you. I don't know what to think.
I was reading this article, too, about how many murders took place after the war was settled. Where,
right.
like where people are like, hey, we're not done, bro.
Yeah.
You killed my whole fucking family.
Yeah, they're like, cool, Lincoln, we're good.
Yeah,
we're not good.
Let me hang on for a little bit and start assassinating people.
But after what would seem like a lifetime of that sort of witnessing that and doing that and watching things that you recognize as injustice, the idea of someone getting stuck in the blame and as the vendetta in that, I can see that. But you see how that's really. It's probably why we're still having problems now.
There's definitely some part of it, right?
Yeah, it's like my great told me.
Yeah.
When people are sort of like dipped in that Kool-Aid of because my great felt this way, I'm supposed to too because we're related. So.
And sort of empowered by the success that he's had in business and seeing how he could change the world in his businesses, I said, how about you and I? He said, what do you mean? I said, we'll use your money in my eye and we'll make films. And the first, then so I'm jumping careers at this stage. I'm going from being a fairly successful, still photographer, really busy, to a career where I had really no business doing it. I'd never really made a film before, not even really a short film. And so I'm, nervous. I'm feeling sort of full of myself, like I'm going to start this great career. We're down the Caribbean on a boat. And my kid starts with Jim on vacation with our families. And my kid starts playing on the beach with another kid. It happens to be Steven Spielberg's kid. So Steven comes over onto the boat to meet Jim and I. He made Jurassic Park using Jim's computers, Silicon Graphics. And after I had Steven alone for a few seconds, I said, do you have any advice for a first-time filmmaker? And he said, yeah, never make a movie involving boats or animals.
Oh, great.
And, of course, the first film we did was The Cove.
But at least these are, you don't have actors and special effects and boats and animals. It's just a part of the story. It's not like you're, like with him, I think what he's meaning like Jaws.
Exactly. Yeah, because, you have to match shots and all
effects.
that. But it has its own set of, trying to keep the horizon level on a boat. You don't want to give the audience seasickness. But, I would add to that, like, don't do a movie where people want to kill you, because when we did The Cove, it was, exciting but dangerous work.
Yeah, I mean, they made these claims like all of a sudden people got stronger and faster and more endurance. Like, there's no evidence to support that. There's no evidence other than their anecdotal statements of what they did. There's no one has ever put anyone on a vegan diet and then run them through extreme endurance tests and found a significant increase in VO2 max or muscle strength or any of those things. None of this has ever been done. So if it's true anecdotally for these people, it would have been really interesting if there was some actual data to go with that, where they showed studies.
Right.
I mean, we have James talking about his ability to do the battle ropes, that all of a sudden he could do an hour, and before he could only do 10 minutes. Well, I find that really hard to believe, that you gained 50 minutes of your battle rope time just from ropes. And if that was the only thing in the film that I found hard to believe, I'd have to let it go. I mean, the guy's an athlete. He's an amazing athlete. He was a great fighter. He's got fantastic endurance. He has excellent martial arts technique. I would just buy it at face level or at face value. But there's a lot of those.
There's a lot. And we can go through it and talk about, there's that problem, which is there's no peer-reviewed evidence to back that up. But even the anecdotal evidence is a little shaky is when we start to talk about some of the athletes in the film, and then also examples of athletes outside of the film who, switched to a vegan diet, and we look and see what happened to them after they did that. The problem here is something that I call the vegan honeymoon, which is, you take someone who's been on a standard American diet, they're eating KFC, McDonald's, et cetera, and they switch from that to a plant-based diet. Well, of course they're going to feel better. They've gone from eating absolute crap to real foods.
Yes.
And so for a period of time, they're going to feel better for sure. But then what happens over a longer period of time? Some not getting enough protein just in terms of quantity and not getting the right quality of protein, that starts to have an impact. Micronutrient deficiencies, vitamin A, zinc, calcium, iron, things like that take a while to develop. So you're not going to see that decline in performance happen right away. It might take 3 months, it might take 6 months, it might take 9 months. It depends on all kinds of factors, genetics, health status going into it, the type of exercise and activity that they're doing, the way they're implementing the diet, et cetera. So you have to not just look at what happens a month after someone goes vegan. You have to look at what happens 6 months, a year after, or 2 years after.
There was a couple that adopted a child from Russia, and they thought that the child was a little kid. And it turned out she might have been 30. They don't know how old she was. She tried to kill them. She scared them. It was a fucking horror movie.
These are the best stories.
They thought they were adopting a little kid, like a little 6-year-old. It's a fucking 30-year-old with some sort of a metabolic disease.
Yeah, well, that serves you right for trying to be a do-gooder. They'll never do anything again for anybody. They'll never do one thing.
Like the husband will try to bring it up. She's like, "Fuck you, Herman.
Fuck you.
You almost got me killed by that midget."
I mean, the idea that there are midgets dressing up as children and trying to burrow into families so that they can wake up in the middle of the night and kill them is truly the funniest thing that has happened in
I don't think
recent
she's
memory.
technically a midget. I think she's something else.
Well, maybe
whatever she was, she has like a growth disorder that keeps her like looking like a small child.
Did you see there was a video recently where it looked like a kid was getting thrown off a bus? I don't know if it was.
Yes.
And it was just it was like a little person who was just thrown off a bus.
But it was a scam. Like,
was it fake?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ari and I both got duped.
I got duped because my friend texted me. They go, "There's a pedophile midget that just got thrown off a bus."
It is hilarious.
It is the funniest thing ever.
When they unzips the hood and you see this like grown up face.
There's a woman who looks like, what the fuck?
I don't think they were in on it.
No, I don't think they knew. The people on the outside didn't know.
I think the guy threw that guy off the bus, and that was the scam.
Yeah.
And then the dude who was the little person in the hoodie, he was in on the scam, and
they
the
were all
driver
in on
was in
it.
on the scam. But I don't think the people on the street were in on it.
So now, what happens when these little people wake up and they're like activated? They're like, "I'm going to kill the family." How do they try to kill them?
Well, this lady, she was threatening. She was threatening to kill the family, and they were really worried that she was going to do that. So she was going to poison them or something like that. I think that's what it was. It's scary stuff.
It's a horror movie.
Because, you got to think, who knows what kind of abuse this little kid had gone through, well, actually a 30-year-old, as a little kid through in Russia, and all these foster homes and foster care, and, they are fucking ruthless over there.
It's rough.
It's rough.
I imagine it's not the best place to grow up as a person with a disorder.
What's up, Jamie?
I feel like I'm hearing. Are you saying that happened in Russia or was it a Russian kid?
It's a Russian kid.
Okay, yeah, this has happened in Indiana.
Yeah.
It's actually a Ukrainian kid.
That's Ukraine is part of Russia. That's okay, isn't it?
They had
It's
her for
one of
3
the
years.
ex-Soviet
Former Soviet
republics.
Union.
Yeah, it's fine.
They had her
They're
for
Russian.
3 years before they figured this out.
Oh, my God.
Now, what were those 3 years nice? Like, were there nice memories?
It started out good.
Isn't that odd to look back and be like, remember when we all went to Disney World?
No, they were
before?
probably like, hey, this bitch isn't growing.
I think they said that she was creepy. In the article that I read, I think they were actually like, they would wake up and see her like standing at the door. Like, I think there were things that she did that, very, very bad.